Daniel Samir is a DMV native. For all of you who do not know, that is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Today we have a special episode because Daniel is the director of operations of a local restaurant group, and he's spent 8 years managing restaurants and spent the majority of his working years in customer service. Today we're going to talk about what is the state of customer service, and by bringing in Daniel, who's someone who is not only has his finger on the pulse of customer service, but is also actively managing businesses and and people to make sure that they deliver a good customer service. So let's dive right in. Welcome back to the Hairdresser Strong Show. My name is Robert Hughes, and I am your host. And today I'm with Daniel Samir. How you doing today, Daniel?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm
Thank you for
excited.
coming. So we gave everybody a little introduction, and this is going to be a customer service centric. And while we don't work in the same industry, we are in the same area, and so I think it'd be a cool little conversation to see like what similarities or any differences you find, and maybe even some insight for those who maybe need different analogies to understand the current state of customer service. So I guess my first question is going, let's dive right in and just say, one, what is it like working with the public from your perspective? Like, what are some of the challenges? What are some of the things you like working in, for the public?
One of the biggest things, especially in my restaurant industry, the industry that I'm in, is our goal is to always make the guests feel like they got the best experience they can have. And that's always my goal. If someone comes into a restaurant or one of my restaurants and they need to have this, that, and above for an event they're doing, or a personal birthday, or Mother's Day, or whatever it may be, my goal is to make them have that experience that they want. And that's the ultimate goal. If someone has a bad experience one time, or even that same day, if something happened at the door or food took too long, to make sure that when they leave that door, they feel a different way. They want to come back.
Totally. That is definitely I feel like it's so funny. It's like I know they're different industries, but it sounds the same so far. So what type of things like and speaking maybe some generalities, but I'm kind of curious to know like currently how what the experiences are like for people who interact with the public and any insights for any sort of like trends. Like, have you noticed anything change since COVID? So like think pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, and then let's say like recent future. Let's separate recent, like the last say 6 to 12 months from the COVID era. Let's say we're in a new normal. Let's just hypothetically say that.
So pre-COVID, you always learn this stupid adage like the customer's always right, and I say it's stupid because that quote is mistaken. I don't know the whole quote, so I can't tell you exactly what it is, but that is not the full picture of what whoever was saying what they were saying. I don't believe the customer's always right. However, I have to act like the customer is always right. And that is something that I find has gotten harder post COVID. I think that there was a little bit of momentum pre COVID in like customers understanding a little bit more where we're coming from as like it's been it's at that point it's like 2019. Things are great. you know and then all of a sudden we get hit with something and people don't know how to act afterwards, and there's an entitlement. And I remember feeling like during COVID when some places were open, and I would see news about this place on the boardwalk down in Maryland, not giving health insurance to their staff but expecting them to work, and calling restaurants essential when it's a privilege to go to a restaurant. It's not a right. We are private businesses. We can say yes or no to anyone coming through our door, much like I'm assuming you can at a hairdresser or any customers. Like a Gap can probably say, "Hey, sorry, you can't." I don't know why I use Gap, but you probably can't come in here because of XYZ. I want to make everyone's experience nice, but people are a little bit more. I mean, I wrote a thing on my Facebook when I walked by a restaurant that I used to work near, 14th and T, during COVID when I was staying at home. I'd lost my job. I was unemployed for a year. Um, Tried to figure out. I was about to move and get a job in the school system in Baltimore County. Um, and I walked around down U Street area, and I was appalled by the amount of people that were just gathering and eating at a bar. Even though it was outside, it was crowded. They were like sardines, and I was like, this isn't a right for you guys to come out. Like, I get we're all trapped inside. I did a lot of Zoom calls with my friends. We went out to the park and like hung out outside, but space like we were told to do. And now I feel like it's just people are back to I'm I'm here, you're serving me. And it's like, yes, I am here to serve you because that's what I want you to enjoy our food. But have some patience, have some understanding. Um, Not only is the clientele different because we're in a city that has 5, 6 colleges within 10 minutes of us. Those kids, think about how old they were at 2020, going into college, coming out of high school. They didn't get socialized like you and I did. Things have changed. And
Yeah.
it's just immediate, like, and my clientele's younger and my staff is younger. Um,
And so what is that? That's interesting. So I have a couple of questions, but since we're talking about this, what differences have you noticed in managing people uh, since then? Like you're saying people are younger. I mean, my first thought is, yeah, they don't have as much like interpersonal communication skills, soft skills. Is that something that you've noticed too, or
I've like things that I mean, one big example is these things right here. Uh, Before when I was coming up 16 years old, working in a movie theater, I mean, we didn't have cell phones to the point that we do now, so you couldn't do anything with it. Um, but you know, to get someone off their phone is impossible. It's on you, and there's, I am, TikTok and all these new apps that like Instagram, it's just like they're on them all the time, and it's such instant gratification that like you used to be like you don't have your phone on the floor at all whatsoever, and there was no ands ifs or buts about it. And I feel like I can't do that anymore. Now,
why? Why can't you just give someone a warning and then fire them?
well, I mean, I like to be a little more lenient in things. I mean, like to me, because we have this instant communication, like I have a lot of people that have families, right? And it's extremely important to me that if they need to contact somebody for an emergency, that they have that access. And I allow my staff, for the most part, if they're off the floor, go check your phone. That's fine. Just don't do it in front of guests. But
Totally. Totally
I
reasonable.
never had that. I mean, my phone before I was in management, if I was bussing, barbacking, serving, bartending, my phone was in my pocket the whole time, and I checked it maybe 3 times a day. Like it wasn't that culture wasn't there. Like we couldn't miss everything. Now, unfortunately, like I feel like because of the position I'm in now, in terms of what my role is, I have to have my phone on me. There's apps that I check sales and labor, and and if the ownership group calls, and I have to pick up, like I have to be on my phone, so I feel bad telling someone, "Hey, you don't get to take a call, but I have to."
Do as I say, not as I do.
Which is usually how I roll. Like I like to lead by example, and I live by a couple of rules in that like I won't ever ask a staff member to do something I wouldn't do myself. But if I'm asking you to do it, it's because I can't in that moment. And I'm nothing without those that work with me. It's not that they work for me. We're working together. I saw some TikTok thing, and I hate keep saying that, but it's what it is these days. Some guy was relating the restaurant industry to like a play, and like we all work in unison together, and if someone's not doing their role, if something goes wrong, and to include the customer as that part, like the guest at a play, the people that come to see your matinee or your night play or Broadway, they're part of that production now. So it's a give and take. You have to at a movie theater, you need to turn your phone off and shut up. You know, as a customer coming into a restaurant, I think you have to hear what we need to say and introduce our cuisine and how we want your meal to go based on what we have in our idea, but we are always willing to change it. I've never heard people say no more in my life than I have lately,
Like
or like talk
customers or
back. I'll
employees?
ask somebody to do something and they'll talk back, and I'm just like, I used to be yes chef, like across the board. If somebody above you in our industry said, "Hey, go take the trash out," it's yes chef. No matter how much that person picked on you or whatever it was. Now, I don't agree with the yelling and the screaming part. Um, the theatrical stuff that's on TV, that that doesn't work. I've never believed in like breaking down to build up. I just think that hurts people. And you need to learn into what I've learned a lot, and this is probably one of the most important things I learned was how different people receive things differently, and different people react to certain things differently. I can go up to one bartender and say, "Hey, man, I saw you put this amount into that cocktail. I'd really like us to take it down a little bit. Like, let's do half, half ounce instead of a whole ounce." And that server, that bartender will be like, "Okay, no problem, not all good." And then someone else will be like thrown off for the rest of the shift and can't operate because I asked them to do one small thing. And that's always been a thing. But just accepting that, like, I'm asking you to do something, and like this is how it should be done. I hate repeating myself. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves, and I feel like I do it a lot. Um,
Well, okay, so let's get back to the customer service. So the customer, when for and anybody watching or listening, I'd be happy to hear a different perspective. But my experience in talking to people was like customers actually got pretty cool. Not during quarantine for essential workers. That is a whole nother level that restaurant people had to do that we were not deemed essential. So we were at home until quarantine lifted. Now, when quarantine lifted, everyone was so cool. Like they were like, if you were running behind, you could be like, "Hey, I'm running behind." They're like, "No problem. I'm just like happy to be out of the house." And they were really cool with like, "Oh, hey, sorry I didn't get back to you for like 4 hours, but our person's got COVID." They're like, "No problem. We're just so happy to like book this appointment." And now it's like, "Hey, sorry I didn't call you back. It's been 20 minutes." They're like, 20 minutes? I already booked another appointment and got my hair cut, It's like it's not the you serve me attitude like you're talking about for us, but it is very much like you need to be on time, you need to be on point, and this shit needs to be good, and I'm not really trying to come back for like whatever, or like I'm not, I had somebody jump down my throat on Saturday because I was running behind and the front desk didn't tell me. They forgot. I don't know what they were doing, but maybe they were busy. Bottom line is, I had to deal with the customer like basically every 5 minutes asking me, "So, that's not normal. Like, you were late. Like, usually you're on time." And it's like, I am on time. And if I'm late, it's not that late because I call my customers ahead of time and let them know. And she goes, "Normally you let me know." And it's just like, I just don't want this to happen again. So it turns out that she also had like a something happen that morning that put her in a mood. And so she was taking it out on me. But nonetheless, the point is like there's still like that more pressure for being kind of like 100% on point, which I have not experienced since 2019,
well, I
So
think, I mean, what's crazy about that, and like, I'm not like someone that goes to get my hair done fancy often. Like, I would, maybe I can get a haircut from you one day. I won't get mad if you're a couple minutes late. I think it's crazy that somebody who's been coming to you before can't accept that a one-off time is just a one-off time. And I think that goes into what the expectations are. Like, I went to the same barber shop as a kid for years, and I had the same Vietnamese lady cutting my hair for 10 years, and it was a fine haircut for a teenage kid. She had a nickname for me. I had my ears pierced, and she would call me Diamond Boy. Like it was just a good relationship. But I would never be upset if she screwed something up or if she cut something too short or, I like things make people make mistakes. I always thought sitting in the barber chair was like the most one of the most relaxing things for me because it was the only time in my life where I ever had someone doing something for me that like I had to sit there. I can't even see them, right? I mean, like they're behind me. Yeah, there's mirrors all over, but like that's the only time in my life I don't go get my nails done. I don't go to spas. I don't have massages. Like those just aren't part of my daily routines. And getting the haircut was one of the most peaceful things for me. I don't even have my phone in me when I get a haircut. Like I put
Yeah.
it in my pocket and I like to just sit with my hands under my apron, just like, yeah, man, like keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
Uh,
we got a lot of more people are pulling out their laptop and like working and like I mean I know everyone's clientele is different, but our clientele specifically are people on the go. And
yeah.
so they want to get as much of the luxury and pampering as they can, but understanding that this is an on the go appointment. So like we're trying to walk that line of like spa, relaxation, pampering, and being on time and getting you out in like a certain amount of time because they got a plane to catch or they got a client to speak to or they got kids to feed. So
I
anyway,
mean,
but what is your experience like? Can you compare that to like this kind of shift? Is it similar or different? Like,
I think it's the same. I think it's
okay.
like we came in right now. Well, can we get our food in 15 minutes because we have a play in 15? Like you, I mean, the people being late to appointments on their end. Now, I've worked in restaurants, and the one I worked at right before this one, um, they were trying to push the books, just boom, 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 boom. Let's get everybody in. And I'd have a big line at the front door where we would be behind because our kitchen couldn't handle that capacity. And booking X amount of guests in a night wasn't obtainable because if you want them to have a service of sit down, here's your meal. Let's like the pampering part that you were just talking about on your end. Instead, it's I want to come in and eat. I have a reservation at this club in an hour. I'm like, well, you booked an 8 o'clock reservation and then you have a club at 8:15, like 9 o'clock. Like, I don't know that I can get you in and out in an hour and have you have the experience that we want you to have. And maybe you're just coming here to get some food and go. Um, but also you were late 20 minutes and your other person was late.
Yo, so this is that you're touching on something really interesting. So a person setting unrealistic expectations from the break and not and coming in and wanting the full experience in a tight timeline, and it's almost like is there an expectation conversation? Is there a hold on, not the expectation. Where was I going with that? So the express version of what you're selling. Like you're selling an experience, I'm selling an experience. So like people coming in, they want this express experience, but they're going to complain if it doesn't kind of hit a certain bar. Is that it? Is that something sound like?
I mean, that's not fair. I mean, that's to me, that's not that expectation of the services that we're providing. Once again, these are services we are providing.
Right.
It's unfortunately right now, like some services in this country aren't being provided, but like we are these are luxury things. Like you used to get a haircut from your grandma in the house, right? Because you couldn't go out and have someone who's been trained to do whatever you want to your hair. And now you want me to rush that process? Like, you know, you watch the movies in like the 70s and people are sitting in like hair blowers for hours because that's the way it took to make their hair that way. I'm not like we don't create our food and our experience so that you can eat and go. If you want to come get we're working. I'm in an Indian restaurant spot right now. If you want to come get fast Indian food, go to Spice Six. Like they're the Chipotle Indian place, and like they're fine. And I got nothing wrong with their food, but I don't want because you're gonna come in and you're like, oh well, this didn't taste like it did last time. It's like, well, you asked us to have it done in 10 minutes. You know, do you want your fade to be right, or do you want me to like miss a spot because you want to be out in 10 minutes?
Yeah, so I got a question then. What is your stance? Do you refuse the customer and just say I can't do that, or do you say let me try and try to do my best and take the risk of it not turning out the way you want it?
So the minimum that I will ever really tell someone I can sit them in our restaurants is like an hour. Like if like I have a two top come in, they're walking, like for the example, this week was restaurant week in DC and we participated. So it like influxes your reservations, and it's a lot of people that are trying new things, which is a great thing about restaurant week. But you get a lot of people that are, I wouldn't say inexperienced, but like don't go out as much. And like, oh, I want to try this new restaurant. They have this, like, oh, I want to change this. And it's like, well, I can't. For like you come in and walk in on a Saturday night at 7 o'clock, when you look down and they see a table and they're like, well, that's open. It's like, well, I have a reservation there in 20 minutes. I can't sit you there. Yes, these 5 tables are empty right now, but it's 6:40. At 7, I will have all of them filled, and I can't sit you. I don't want to rush you. Now I have a bar you can sit at. There's 6 seats open at the bar, full service. And then, well, that's not the same. I'm like, well, it's not going to be the same if I sit you and you want to get out and you have to get up in 40 minutes. And then you yell at me at the end when you feel like you were rushed and like it wasn't like I want you to have an experience where the apps come out, then your main course, then your dessert. That's if we're a coursing restaurant, that's what I want you to have. You're not going to get that if you say I need to be out in 25 minutes or I need
Dude,
to go.
I love this. This is everybody out there listening and watching. This is literally the same vibe for our industry. Like there's got to be boundaries. You got to have like you got to protect the quality of your or you have to protect your reputation, and that means that sometimes you might have to like let the person know that you can't give them what you can't stand by the service or the product unless you have these variables like the time, the tools, or the whatever. And then so like if you don't have them, I like how you give options. I think that that's incredible because like it's better to not say no. It's better to give someone an option. So it's like hey, I still want this. Like, okay, well, we have the bar. It's like, well, I don't want the bar. It's like, okay, well, how about tomorrow at 7? Like you're not sitting down, like, but I
I
don't have to be like, no, you're not sitting down, because you're trying to also provide a good customer experience during this process as well.
I had one of the most frustrating experiences that I've ever had as a manager, and I've had quite a bit. Like as the front of house manager of a restaurant, I don't think people realize how much that person takes on. The kitchen, you know, I think it's important to have front of house, back of house fluidity. That is, I everywhere I've been, I try to make sure that I have the best relationship I can with my kitchen. They deserve it. They're some of the hardest working people in this industry, in this world, and they are stuck behind a hot grill or an oven for 7 hours a day. But also, I have to deal with the people. And if someone comes in and yells at me, it's frustrating. I get all the crap, and I'm not saying the kitchen deserves it sometimes, although they might. Um, it comes on me, and I had a guy come in the other day. He wanted to sit. Again, the restaurant's wide open. And he's like, well, why can't I was like, sir, it's again 6:40. Like, I have these people filling up. Why I want to see. Okay, well, okay, we can do. I have 2 options. I have this table here, or here. Well, I don't want to face a wall. I'm like, okay, well, there are walls on every side of this restaurant. I don't know what you want me to do. They're 2 guys. We offer them a booth, and he goes, that booth's next to where everyone's walking by. I'm like, okay. How about this 4 top? Well, that one's near the door. Well, I can give you this 2 top. It's not facing a wall, but it's in the middle of everything. Oh, I don't want that. They sit down, brought their own Magnum bottle of wine, and then proceeded to get up before we could serve them anything and walk out and tell me at the front, are you the owner? And I was like, I am not. I can tell, because if you were the owner, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, look, I gave you 5 options to sit. You refused all of them. I don't know what you want me to say. He tries to give me all this advice and whatever. They walk out. They come back hour later, hour and a half later. The dudes come to the front. I can see them at our door. I'm like, oh man, what am I going to have? What is this about now? He comes up and proceeds to put his phone in my face and show me video from a restaurant they went to down the street where they got in. And I said, I had seats for you. Why are you showing me this video that you're filming through a lattice? It looks like, of people just walking by. And then I stopped as I was like saying, I was like, wait a minute, did you just come back here to show me this video? Like, excuse me? And I don't usually like get animated. I was like, sir, I don't know. This is the most crazy thing I've ever experienced. You literally left the restaurant, went somewhere else, and came back to show me a video of you. And then he proceeded to tell me I needed to work on how I was doing things, and he could give me some advice because he does this, and this. And I looked at him, sir, I helped open the #2 restaurant in the country in 2019, 2018. I don't, I have tons to learn, but from you, I have nothing.
Tell us, that guy. Okay, so tell us, what is the restaurant that you opened?
Uh,
That's
it was made on.
Made on. Yeah, I went there. It was
Yeah.
pretty badass.
I
It
started
is
at
still
Compass
there, right?
Rose. I started Compass Rose first. That was the first of them. And then I was I was the director of operations when we opened Maidon with an awesome crew, awesome ownership. I'm still very close to a lot of the staff that we had. I have some of them working with me currently. At the last job I was at, some of them were there too. And the irony is, it's all back of house. Like I said, I think the unison between back of house and front of house is needed. Um, After that, I worked some smaller bar gigs just to make ends meet. After being in management for a while, I wanted to take a break and just like get a paycheck instead of getting 500 phone calls every day when I went home. I turned my phone off of silent mode for the first time in years in COVID, and then I was at Chaplin's in Petworth. I live in Petworth, in Shaw for 3 years. And
So
now
everybody who's listening and watching that's not from this area, all of these places are like really cool places. They get real popular. Great service, and I think like we're coming up on our time, so I wanna make sure we have a proper chance to wrap up. And so like I want you to like considering the state of customer service, like if anybody listening or watching wants to provide their customer with a top level experience so that they want to come back and they also because they have pride in their own work and they care. And so as we sign off, as somebody who has had the chance to work at and run some of the top restaurants in the area, most well known and stuff. What would that be?
I think having expectations and letting the customer know the expectations. I think that's one of the biggest reasons, having for us having a host and for you having some of the front desk. Like if that person at the front desk, when you talked about the person being upset because you were a little late, had there been an expectation set from this get-go of someone letting her know, hey, unfortunately, Rob's running a little late today. It might be 10 to 15 minutes, just so you're aware. You've now tempered their expectation with something that let them know. And I've always told my staff over communication is always the way to go. I don't care if you're talking to that person waiting at the door for 15 minutes, like 5 times, do it. Every 2 minutes, go and like, hey, I almost had this table. They paid the credit cards down. We've swiped the card. We're clearing the table off now. Like over communicate and like make people understand like this is still a functioning piece, like a play, like I said earlier. Like if something goes wrong, we have to adapt. And not everything can be done the way you always want it to. But my goal is to like temper people's expectations of like this might change. I still want you to have a great time. I still want you to come back and get your hair cut next time. But I just want you to know this happened. This is what happened. Here's how I'm going to help you. Um, and from our point of view, that might be like, okay, to sit a little while to get sat, we'll give a glass of champagne to start. Here you go. Thank you for your patience. Or at the end, here's a little dessert from us. Sorry you had to wait a second. But explaining that throughout the entire process and overdoing it. And the best experiences that I've had, and I think this caps it well, is when someone has a bad start and I can make it so by the end of their time they've left and they're giving me a hug or giving me their card. I had a guy who like drank from a wine glass a couple weeks ago and it chipped in his mouth. That stuff happens. I was mortified. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna go crazy. He ended up sitting with me after they were done paying. It was him and his wife, celebrating their engagement. And he gave me his card and said, I want to be your friend. Let's like hang out sometime. Like
Nice. That's awesome.
you take something that's really bad and you make it something that's not. Like he was really cool about it. He wasn't. Some people aren't, and I get that. But it's not my fault. I can't do really. I mean, I can't do much about a glass chipping if you have it in your mouth. Like that could probably happen to anything. It sucks though. It did happen. But I comped that guy's bottle of wine, and then I gave him a dessert. And by the end of it, I have his card in my wallet back then in my house. I
I
think
love
tempering
that.
people's expectations and making them understand, like, I want this to be as best you can have it. But sometimes there are other factors that mess up. That's part of the world. That's part of being human. Like, that's what we were taught growing up. Like, it doesn't always go your way, Daniel. You have to learn from that. And I think that's taught us all lessons. And I think we as a society with this instant gratification need to get back to like understanding we're all still human. We make mistakes. Just because we do have computers in our hand doesn't mean it's always going to be perfect. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I think that you're right. That is a good way to wrap it up. And people, because it's like even if you have bad experiences, it doesn't change your desire to like do a good job, produce a good service or product, make other people happy, and just the thought of like thinking like I was so worried and now I got this guy's card, he wants to be my friend, and that I think that's so cool. Like I think that if we could all just take that approach to caring, even if we have bad experiences, that is not stopping you from wanting to provide a good service to the next person and go above and beyond. And you did, and I'm sure you didn't make a TikTok or Instagram video shaming all these customers, being like, "Can you believe this customer this customer did that?" I don't know. Do you do that? I don't do that, but do
No,
you?
I hate
Okay.
the fact that I said TikTok like 4 times in this really pissed me off because I don't use TikTok. I have social media because I have to for work, and that's about it. I think I've had Instagram since I was in college in 2009, whatever. I have 100 posts. Like, that doesn't
Totally.
matter to me. I wish I could sometimes, but there are so many people out there now that are doing it that I do appreciate, like the humor in it. And like I'll see these people posting things. I'm like, that hit real hard. Like, yeah, you're right. There are open tables here. I can't sit them. There's reservations. That's why people make reservations. I see other people doing it, and I'm like, kudos to you. I'll like your shit. I'll hit the heart, and that's about all I'll do.
Yeah, yeah,
I've thought about
exactly.
reaching out to people sometimes because I like talking. This has been a lot of fun. So I just thank you. I think it's really cool. Different places, but we're still living with people, and
Yes.
ultimately, that's what we're here for. And sometimes things go badly. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I still try to do, like you said, the best for the next person. And if that person comes back into, I'll still try to do the best we can.
Totally. Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us about customer service, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob.
All right.